Hey guys, JJ here, back again with another Wednesday of Zoom networking. Our guest speaker today is absolutely amazing young lady, one of the astounding, amazing young rock stars in the Pace Morby Sub 2 community. She is amazing. She started as a student, become an investor, turning into a very successful entrepreneur, very well known in the community. Married, family person, an all-around great friend, and just one of my favorite human beings. My good friend Chernise Ramos. Chernise, how are you?
How are you, JJ? I'm good. Thank you for having me.
I'm good too. I'm good too. Hey, for those that don't know you, where in the country are you located?
I'm in New Jersey.
New Jersey. That's a beautiful place to be. So, Shanice, I met you through Pace's Sub 2 community,
Yes, you did.
and you came in kind of as a new investor across my group. And over the last, several months, I've just seen you being more and more visible, more and more visible. People know you. You seem to be tearing it up on social media. You're respected in the community. Um, is real estate a new thing for you, or is it something you've been exposed to most of your life? Was it something around or on the landscape for you, like in high school at all, or in your 20s?
No, never. It was nothing, nowhere near in my mind back in my high school days.
So what were you doing for your teens in your 20s?
Being a knucklehead. Well, back in the day, my number one thing was actually playing sports. My favorite sport was actually basketball. That was actually my spark. That what kept me going from elementary school all the way through high school. Certain things happened where it, kind of fell downward, but it was pretty hard, through the years growing up, just trying to figure out what was it that I really wanted to do,
Hmm.
what did, anything new, nothing was sparking me pretty much. So I was just going about W-2s and trying to get into different things just to see if, if it was something that gave me that same spark. Moving forward till now, 2 years ago when I joined Sub 2, I just came across Pace Morby, listened to him on his ad, and I just said to myself, you know what, that's something I want to get into. It was interesting to me when it came for real estate, and I said I want to learn more. So in the beginning, it wasn't like a spark that basketball gave me, but I joined because I was interested. So that was like one of the first times of me feeling that much interested into something. So I just kind of, threw myself in there. And let me tell you, now moving forward is like I have the spark that I used to have years ago.
Hmm.
And it's good to have that feeling back again.
Now, let me ask you, I mean, your talk today is about double closing. We're going to get into double closing a bit, but I'll tell you, girl, it seems like you've just taken the landscape by storm. It's like you're on the fast break of real estate investment education. Um,
It,
I know you came into my group. My group's a networking group, and I help people with things like that. But did the group have part to do with that? I know a lot of it's your own drive and your own ambition.
Well, let me first say that I don't think she's in here, but I want to thank her because she's the one that actually brought you up and recommended it. When I had a one-on-one conversation with her, her name is Darlene. Um, so that's what led me to you on this page, particularly besides Sub 2. And with this networking Zoom that you have, it helps so much because it's not concentrating on who has deals, who's getting deals, or who wants to make money. It's more of getting to know each other, building relationships, seeing what we have in common, and then seeing how we can help each other grow. Um, and that's what I like because my most concentrated concentration is building those relationships.
Hmm.
So I stay busy with connecting and reaching out and connecting. Yeah, I'm reaching out for what I do in the funding business, but It's more, I'm trying to build more relationships because the more
There you
relationships
go.
you have, the better things will eventually they'll trickle in.
Yeah, no, you are so dead right about that. Of course, I talk about it all the time. Yeah, let's get to you and your topic today, which I think is really going to be really informative. But your topic today is going to be double closing. So we have people watching on YouTube weeks and months down the line, as well as on the call today. There are some of them are very experienced, some of them are very, very new. For people that don't know, what does it mean to double close? What is a close? And then what does it mean what does it mean to close a deal? Let's just start there.
I mean, I think that we're all familiar with the traditional way of closing when it comes to closing on a property.
Property goes into
Um,
escrow, right? You buy it, it goes in escrow, put deposit
yeah, it goes
down.
in escrow and all that. Yeah, not to say that when you double close, you don't go through escrow because you still do go through escrow. It's still the same concept, right? You still got to go down the same line,
Okay,
but
well, so
more
what
so
is a double close? What's a double close?
with a double close, you have two contracts. You have an A to B contract between you and the seller, and then you have a B to C contract between you and the buyer. So pretty much you're agreeing with a seller on one price, and then you're agreeing on a higher price with the buyer, which is where your assignment fee comes from. So pretty much the seller or the buyer, they're not going to know what your assignment fee is. And it kind of works out for you in a double close if you're getting a high assignment fee. If you're working your numbers correctly and you're getting like a 30 or 50K spread, then you might want to double close just so you won't have no discrepancies between you and the seller or the buyer to be renegotiating.
So does this happen frequently because as you're entering into a contract with the seller, they're getting a price they're happy with. They might not be too thrilled if they found out the person buying is going to get even more turning it around to somebody else, right?
Right,
So
right.
that's the predominant reason to not tell the seller. You just close that deal and then do immediately, I'll just say flip it into another deal and then do what would then be the double close, one right behind the next.
Right. It's same time, same day.
Okay, now as one is new going into this, I'm just going to try and come up with some questions here. Uh, when you buy this property, does the second close just randomly come out of nowhere, or are you lining these secondary closes up in advance?
What do you mean
Well, if
by
you're going to do a double close, you're going to buy you're going to person A is selling to you person B, and you're going to turn around person B sell to person C. Do you buy from person A and then look for person C? Or are you trying to line up a number of people that could kind of potentially buy that to allow you to go, yes, I'm going to get this because I know I got two or three people lined up.
that would be that would be best if you did have more than one buyer lined up for the deal. So that way, if your first buyer kind of just either disappears on you or says no or changes their mind for whatever reason, you have a backup buyer.
Now, when you talk about a backup buyer, I know frequently on contracts we've got so many days to close, and it's referred to like the escrow period. And by a certain day, you have to close by a certain day, or the contract goes away, and you can close in a short amount of time. But if you want to back out of that deal because you can't find your C buyer, you've got so many days, and help me if I'm wrong here, that might be referred to as the escrow period. And if you don't get that, as you say, second backup buyer, number of buyers, if you don't get that first or second or third buyer to close within the designated time, are you still leaving yourself an option to go, okay, I don't have a buyer, I'm going to have back out of this?
That would be the option, yeah.
And okay,
That definitely
so
would be the option.
so you
So
have
you have an inspection period, right? As the A to, when you do the A to B contract, you have your inspection period. Between that inspection period is when you're finding your buyer for B to C. So that's why it's good to always have your buyers lined up for the deals that you're getting and you would need to double close because you only have a certain amount to look for that buyer. And if you don't end up with a buyer, then yes, you basically you can lose the deal because you don't have the buyer.
and when you're doing these, when you enter these deals initially, one has to feel somewhat secure about the opportunity in front of oneself. Meaning, I'm pretty confident I'm going to find my C buyer. Um, because to even enter into the first contract, generally we have to put down some EMD, which is an earnest money deposit. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay, so then if we back out of that double, if we back out of the first contract for whatever reason, we essentially lose our EMD.
You can, yes.
Now, what is an EMD, earnest money deposit? For those that are new, what amount is that usually? Is it $50, $500, $5,000? What is one?
That all the, that all depends on what you negotiate with the seller. If it's just you and the seller, you can negotiate. That could even be $10.
Oh,
But you can negotiate it at a higher price so that the seller can see that you're serious about buying the property. If you offer the seller $10 and they're, oh, well, I don't know, but then you say, if I offer you $5,000 EMD, then they're gonna think about it and say, okay, now you're serious, right?
now you're
5,000
talking.
versus
Yeah.
$10.
Mr. Jeff Anderson, you are on Chernise Ramos. What's your
Hey, Chernise, how are you?
What's up, Jeff? Thank you for
Yeah,
joining.
yeah, no problem. We know how for I've known for a while. Hey, when you do your double closing, the buyer, do you do it an hour later, 2 hours later, so they don't intertwine with each other? The next day?
good question?
Yeah, it could be same time. If you have the buyer and your buyer is already with their if they're ready with their funds in escrow,
But if they're
then
sitting if they're sitting there and they hear the price, wouldn't that sort of juice someone up? Would it be better to do it like 2 hours later? Well, if they hear what you're selling it for, if they're there at the same time, would that cause a problem?
well, you'll be talking to them in two separate
Two separate
occasions.
rooms.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Okay. Gotcha.
So you wouldn't have everybody in the room at the same time. You'd maybe have like a 10 o'clock appointment, get that all wrapped up, paperwork signed,
Right.
person out the
But then
door, and have a
you
10:30 appointment.
it could depend as well, because if you have a good relationship with a buyer and they're okay with what the price is and what you're doing, then you wouldn't have any issues with the buyer.
Yeah, yeah. But it could get sticky, I guess, if it's too close together.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you so much, Jeff.
Well,
So, Shanice, do you suggest one put some kind of a cushion in there to kind of separate A from C?
of course. Well, you're dealing with the seller first before you even talk
Get to
to the
the other
buyer.
buyer. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Definitely.
We got a couple more questions here. Let's bring a couple more folks on in. Chris Zink, you are on with Chernise Ramos. What's your question?
Hey, Chernise.
Hey, Chris, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Awesome, awesome. So I was wondering, when you're doing your double close, how do you negotiate that EMD? Is that a part of the double close, or is that a whole separate part of the transaction?
You can negotiate the EMD.
Correct me if you're wrong, Chris. There's an EMD is part of the deposit. So once the transaction proceeds, I believe, Chris, and she and seller A agree to close that deal in the first phase, that EMD is applied. Say it's a $50,000 purchase. That $5,000 is applied to the 50. She then just has to come up with the 45. Is that correct, Shanice? And
No,
there might be other closing costs. You
no,
know,
that's the EMD is separate. The EMD is separate from what the total price would be.
okay, so they get
But
deemed.
the EMD is pretty much you showing that you got some skin in the game. Like you're serious about buying the property from the seller. So that's totally separate.
Okay, so
So
let
it
me
can't
ask
be.
does that say you're buying the house for $50,000? So and I guess this could be negotiated one way or the other, but is a house then are you then paying 50 plus the 5 EMD, or is the EMD considered as a deposit towards the purchase of 50?
The 5,000 EMD is being deposited first as you being serious about buying the property.
Okay,
So that EMD is entitled through the inspection period.
and then that
So
gets applied to the purchase price.
no, it doesn't get applied to the purchase price.
So
Okay, that's what I was wondering right there. Yeah,
okay.
so it's two separate. It doesn't get applied.
No.
So
It's
the
completely
EMD is just what we would pay to be allowed to have our paper be submitted and then purchase the property.
Right.
Okay.
It's just like I said, it's pretty much just you showing that you're serious about purchasing the property. So if when you find the buyer to the property, then the earnest money, it could be refundable or non-refundable. That's something that has to be negotiated as well.
Perfect. Okay. That's the part I was looking for. So,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, that's good. Good stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, so
You're
thank
welcome.
thank you, Chris. So and then what I was looking for, Shanice, was it could be refunded, it could be non-refundable, and as non-refundable, is it then become in addition to the purchase price or does it become part of the purchase price? And that's all negotiable when you as buyer B deals with seller A, correct?
Well, if you give the 5,000 for the earnest money deposit and it's non-refundable, if you don't find a buyer, you don't get that money.
Oh
It's
yeah,
that
most
goes that
definitely.
stays with the seller, but that
Yeah.
doesn't add or subtract to what the purchase price is.
Yeah, I think okay. Makes sense to me. We got Money Rob on from Gator and Seb 2. Money Rob, you're on with Chernise Ramos. What's your question?
Hey JJ, hey Chernise, how are you?
What's up, Rob?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Hey, had a question. When it comes to double close, if I were to connect you with someone who needs a double close, is there a vetting process on your end, and what is it?
Yeah, definitely. I would just go through exactly what the deal is, um, how much are they looking for? I would need to know the purchase price. And if they already have everything aligned and they got two contracts, well, pretty much look over both contracts to make sure that it is a double close deal and that the B2C purchase price contract would cover the fees.
Okay, and typically double closes, those occur in, is that like typically a 1 day transaction? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I'm just trying to understand that. It's always been sticking out of my brain. But
Of course.
for those of you that don't know Shanice, I got to know her when I first came into Gator 7 months ago. Your content is off the hook, Shanice. I love what you do on a daily. I want to mimic it.
Go right ahead.
So
And I do that all on my own. I just come
but
up
check
with
it out.
things.
Check it out. I didn't know you were a baller. So I got a tagline for you, okay? And you got to put the video together with you with the basketball. So you have to do crossover to Shanice for your double close.
You got it.
There
There
you
you
go.
go.
Oh,
Thank
but
you,
thanks.
Rob.
Thank you, Money Rob. Good to see you. Mr. Julio Llamas, you are on with Shanice. What's your question, Julio?
Hey, what's up, Chernise? Good to see you.
Julio, what's up?
Nah, not much. Hey, so I just a question because I get it a lot. I'm interested in learning more about the double closing, but when it comes to what are the benefits and the risks of using a double close strategy, and how does it differ from like an assignment of a contract?
The double close, one, as I mentioned before, it's pretty much of not wanting your assignment fee to be disclosed, right? If you have a high assignment fee. Two, it all depends on where the deal is coming from because there are certain states with certain restrictions, right? Um, when you assign, you're assigning for what, $10,000
Mhm.
assignment fee. But if you know that you can get a higher assignment fee, you would want to double close, right? If the
Okay.
numbers make sense and you can agree to one price with the seller and then get a higher price with the buyer, you would definitely want to double close.
Okay. Okay. And then so how do you know or like what states have you come across that do not allow like double closes? Or is it
Off
pretty
the
much
top of my head right now, I think is South Carolina and Pennsylvania also, I believe, recently has like certain restrictions.
okay. Awesome. Thank you so much, man, and congratulations, man. So excited to see
Thank
you
you. Thank
succeed.
you. Good to see you.
Likewise. We'll connect soon.
Absolutely.
All right. Take care. God
Thank you
bless.
for coming on, Julio.
Thank you for having me, JJ.
So, yeah, because I'm so proud of Shanice and what she's done, and I'd say in a very short period of time. I mean, not just the hard work. A lot of people are working hard, but she's also leveraged social media to blow up her visibility. So it's one of those things, you don't market your business, you market yourself. It's not who you know, but who knows you. And she's done an outstanding job. Uh,
Thank you, JJ. I just want to tell you really quick, thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate your networking community. I appreciate the fact of you giving me the opportunity to, to have this networking, Zoom and talking about what I do. I really do appreciate you.
well, I'll tell you, girl, I love me some Chernise Ramos. I just love your personality, your drive. I say
I
all
do
the
my
time.
best. I do my best. I know how hard it could be. I don't know if some of you have seen the post that I did today, because I know it could be hard and we go through a lot of, mindset things and thinking if we're alone or, are we doing what we're doing is correct, or just going through all the emotions. But we're not alone, and being a part of a community and just networking, you can get through it with the people that you meet and that are like-minded, because we're all in this together, right? We're all trying to
Yeah.
strive and get to where we want to get to, in our life and in the entrepreneur life, right? So I just do my best to kind of give that energy to everybody else.
Well, and like I said, in a short period of time, you've really been able to leverage that aspect, like nobody I've seen maybe since Big Mike, Money Rob, Raphael, um, Orozco. There's a handful of people in this group, and you're one of them that have really kind of exploded. So, thank you so much for leading by example. We have Glenn Partridge from Arizona in with us. Glenn, you're on with Shanice. What's your question?
Yeah, well, actually, this kind of leads right into what I wanted to ask, and that is, are some of our biggest learning experiences is when we screw up or when we make a mistake. I'd like to hear, Sharice, what was been your biggest mistake, and what did you learn from it, and how did you get past it?
My biggest mistake was not taking action right away. When I first jumped into the entrepreneurship real estate world, I think I held myself back a lot from not taking action. And when I finally did, it's where I am today. It was just like a whole mindset shift. And like I said, I didn't do it alone. I did it with listening to others. Marlon mindset, he's one of them. Um, Many others. I mean, off the top of my head, I can't remember everybody, but it just takes a whole community to be able to get through what you want to get through to. And that's what helped me, because without a community, I think you make it harder for yourself if you think that you're really going to do this by yourself.
That's absolutely right. I'll take about 15 seconds here, then I'll get off the platform. I teach in the jails twice a week, and when I'm talking to these inmates, I tell them it's your whole universe, everybody that you've known since the day you were born to right now only knows the you that ended up in here, which means in prison. I says, when you get out, either you're going to turn away from that old universe, or that old universe is going to turn away from you if you decide to change. And so you need to find a new universe, a new group of people that are going in a different direction. And that's sort of what I perceived in your comments there, and I'm glad you brought that out, because that's what people have to understand. If they want to go in a new direction, they may have to walk away from their older relationships and their old connections and their old environment, and this is the perfect place to go to. Anyway,
Absolutely.
glad to meet you. I look forward to hearing from you more.
Same here. Thank you so much, Glenn.
Thanks for joining us again, Glenn. Always good to see you. Young man, Mr. Dwayne Jones out of Illinois. Dwayne, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. How are you, JJ?
I'm great, brother. You're on with Chernise Ramos. What's your question?
I don't think I have a question. I just want to, because you guys are asking great questions. I think one of the comments that I heard you say, Shanice. Hey, Shanice, how you
How
doing?
you
Good to
doing,
see you and
Dwayne?
talk to you. I
Same
just
here.
met Shanice maybe a week or two ago, just as
Somewhat
well
like
as
that.
JJ as well. I'm so glad to be a part of this community. You, as a newbie, I don't think you guys really understand how sometimes it does get a little lonely, and it does feel like you are in this great ocean swimming by yourself. But sometimes when you get in these smaller communities and you look to the left and to the right, you see that you're swimming with a group of people. So, man, I think I said this or text this to you, Chernise. I definitely got to have you or be a part of your team or have you on my team because you are doing great things and everybody is noticing is on fire right now. So keep up the good work. JJ, man, I can't say enough how much you kind of bring in this funnel down into a smaller. I started off in sub 2 years ago. Nobody knows about that. And it felt overwhelming. And I jumped out of there because I felt like I was drowning. And when he opened up Gator, I felt like Gator was a lot more to digest. And I'm able to get into these communities just like the Mastermind, where I can kind of talk to people and kind of pinch off you guys' minds and different problem solving and networking because ultimately, you're right, JJ. It is about relationships.
Oh, 100%.
If I'm your friend, you're going to offer all the friendly things that you have and that you're connected with. If you don't know me, it's much harder to say, hey, I need your help. So, man, and Rob, I just met Rob as well. So I don't want to leave you out of there too, Rob. I appreciate you guys connecting. We need to connect more and we need to walk together. I'm trying to tell you.
No, absolutely. I appreciate you doing it. I'm glad that I met you.
So you guys are doing a great thing out here for the newbies.
Thank you, my friend. It's good to have you on the call. Let's you and I spend a little bit more time. I know we got a couple more tweaks to make to your Facebook page, but your social media
Yes,
presence is improving. And again, you don't market your business, you market yourself. So let's put you forth in the best positive light.
absolutely.
Troy Caudell from Illinois and Indiana, you're on with Chernise Ramos. You got a question for us today, Troy?
Like my state, you can't wholesale but one deal a year. So people automatically go to double close. So in that instance, what would you say is the benefit of being a double close over working through an agent?
The fact that if you only are allowed once a year with double close, you don't have a limit.
Yeah, I'll say with the agent, you can, work through them to do the same thing. That's what I'm trying to find. What do you see the limitation is or the difference is?
I would say, I mean, the fact that you can be direct to seller instead of direct to agent is I think in between maybe the agent to give it the agent will say, well, no, you can't assign. I think there will be more like discrepancies with the agent.
I was like, because when I was wholesaling, I was preferring to work with agents. I was getting smaller pieces of pie. I was getting more pies. Once I've established the relationship with the agent.
Yeah, I guess it would depend on that as well, on the type of relationship you have with the agent.
I'll say that I'm just trying to figure out if you had anything, different to bring
At
up.
this point, no, at this point, I mean, for the most part, the wholesalers that I've spoken to have been direct to seller. So I haven't really came across those that, have been working just with agents. So I really can't really speak on that experience just yet.
And Shanice, you're more well versed at this than I am. This is what you do, but my perception might be that the double close is more you say direct to seller, and the agents aren't as involved in that as on a regular basis as they would be a traditional transaction. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So that in a double close, Troy, one is more dealing without having to deal with an agent. Um, in some instances, it makes it easier for the actual investor who's dealing direct to seller than having to work with the agent. Is that the correct phrase, Shanice?
Right.
Does that kind of answer your question, Troy?
Kind of.
Okay. And we'll go back into the after the call we can talk and get into a little bit more depth. But I think generally anytime you're adding more and more people to a transaction, the more opportunity you have for something to snag up. And anytime you can remove people from a transaction, ideally the less chance you have to like have things snag up. So if you can remove an agent, no offense to agents listening on the call, but if you can remove an agent and streamline your process, um, ideally it's going to go smoother for you. Ideally, there are times when you have to have an agent, of course. There's
Oh
no,
yeah, like I said, it
uh,
all depends on the relationship that you build with the agent.
yeah, there's no hundred
You
percent.
can you can work with many agents. Agents could be bringing you deals.
That's kind of why I dealt with the agents.
Yeah, agents could definitely be bringing you deals. So it all depends on the relationship you build.
I think what Chernise says is key, Troy. It's one thing to be randomly contacting agents, but if you could build relationships with them in advance, they're more likely to work with you and find ways to be flexible with you. But when we don't build this relationship with agents, then we just become another number to them, and they're not likely to be flexible for us.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at is I was building the relationships where they were then turning around and bringing deals to me
Great.
to offload to my buyers.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yep.
So do we answer your question, Troy?
Yeah.
We have Mr. Rafael Palomino. Hey, Rafael, how are you?
Hey, good afternoon, everybody.
You were on
Good
with
afternoon.
Chernise Ramos. What's your question?
Thank you, JJ. Nice to meet you, Chernise. I just sent you a friend request. Oh yeah, and I apologize if you mentioned this already, but what are your fees or how much do you charge?
It's 1.5.
1.5%.
Yes.
Okay,
And that's with a week's notice.
okay. That's fair. What if it's a last minute thing where we're
If
down
it's
to
a
the
last minute thing, yeah, if it's a last minute thing, then 1% would be added to the 1.5. So it'll be
Got
two
it.
and a half.
Got it. That's fair. And then for the new people, also for their benefit, is one way to explain it, or let me just ask the question. We're doing a double close. I have a fairly large assignment fee that I don't want the seller to see.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to hide it from them, or I don't want necessarily for them to see it. But in the transaction, is it going to look like a loan, like a short-term loan? Are we signing loan docs with you?
No.
What type of agreement is it?
It's pretty much once you have your buyer, once the buyer's funds is in escrow, then we pretty much are in contact with title, and we make sure that those funds are in. We get the receipt to show that the B2C funds are in, and then we right away fund your A to B.
Got it. So so you wait until the end buyer's monies are in, and then you fund.
Yes.
And then you just invoice escrow for your fee?
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, I've never needed to do, I've always had small assignment fees, but I'm in contract now with a fairly large one. I definitely don't want the seller to see how much I'm making on the assignment.
Absolutely. It all depends on the deal that you're working with, right? It could be single family, multi-family, commercial, it all depends.
Oh, perfect. All right, appreciate you. Yeah, look for my friend request, please.
You got it. Thank you.
Rafael, always to add to that, anytime you send a friend request, make sure you send a message with it.
Okay.
From one person, hey, this is Rafael. I was on the Zoom call. I asked you the question. And you have to say in your message, I sent you a friend request. Please look for it.
Got it.
Do not count on the fact that you've been on a Zoom call to have the person go, oh, yeah, I remember that guy.
Makes sense.
So bring it back around. Again, thank you for being on let's you and I connect with my friend. Let's you and I get better acquainted as well.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you for jumping on. Mark Presswood, you are on with Chernise Ramos. What is your question, my friend?
I appreciate it. Thank you, Chernise, for spending some time and love on the post. You've been following me around a little bit.
Yes, I have.
My question is title companies. How do people locate a friendly title company?
I mean, usually they have a title company that they're already working with, but if there is any issues per se, then we just tell them to look for another title company.
All right, cool. No, we did a couple like self-wholesaling to ourselves before, and they went really good. And it's sometimes it gets sticky of how you write that fee in and stuff like that. They're like, because some of, like you're saying, some of the places are having trouble with wholesale fees. So somebody was saying that you could put a due diligence fee or something like that in there, possibly.
Yeah, possibly. But it's, if we need to find another title company, we let them, we let the wholesaler know per se.
Okay.
And I try to help with that as well to get a title company.
All right, cool. I appreciate it. Thank you, JJ.
Appreciate you.
You're very welcome, my friend. Thanks for coming on the call. Larry, you are on with Chernise. What's your question?
Chernise, nice to meet you.
Same here, Larry. How are you?
Thanks for accepting. Just was yesterday, so I was surprised when I'm like, oh shoot, I just sent you a friend request on the other side. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's nice to meet you. And JJ, I just want to show my face.
Appreciate
JJ, I had a good conversation today with Roy, and it was very good. And so I just want to say something about the double closing. So who got in trouble if the inspection doesn't go through, and then the earnest money is being held? Who got to keep it? The earnest money if the inspection doesn't go through.
That depends on what was negotiated, if the earnest money was refundable or not. Usually the seller keeps it.
Even if the seller's fault that the inspection didn't go through, he gets to keep it.
But Larry, that again, Chernise made a really good point. Depends upon how you write your contract. If you write the contract that the earnest money gets retained by the seller no matter what, then yes, they keep it. But if you as a buyer say, hey, I'm putting earnest money up, but if the inspection doesn't close because you've not done something, you can request to have in the contract that the earnest money is returned to you. But then that has to be approved by the actual seller, and that's to be negotiated as part of your contract. Is that
Okay.
correct, Shanice?
Yes.
Yeah.
You got
Yeah.
it.
So you have your buyer and everything ready, and then you're gonna double close, because then the sellers what you are dealing with, either you let them know or not, it's you that's going to do the deal with the seller, right? Is the agent so much involved? I know you're saying that it depends on the relationship with you and the agent.
The agent is only involved on what the agreement is between you and the seller.
Right. So then if you're doing a double closing, it doesn't involve the agent too many ways, right?
No. The agent's concern is the fact that you're coming in with your A to B funds.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Because they're getting paid anyways. So yeah.
Right.
Okay. That's it. Thank you so much, guys.
So as we're seeing, Shanice, there's so many different ways to skin a cat here. How many of these transactions is it common to have an agent on a double close, or is it a little less common to have an agent on a double close?
No, it is common because, like I said, if you've got a good relationship with an agent that you have built and they bring you deals, that's a no-brainer that you guys are working together. So you can work with an agent or you could be direct to seller. I don't think there's more of of any other, whether it's for the seller or agent.
Now,
Everything all depends on our relationship.
what we're talking about now is predominantly with single-family homes and fix and flips that this takes place. Does the double close also take place with commercial, multifamily, industrial?
Yep, absolutely.
Great. And
I had a wholesaler one time that I was connected with, was trying to work a deal on a multifamily for, I think it was like a $1.5 million deal, and he wanted to double close on it. He had a buyer, but something happened, it didn't go through. But yeah, it doesn't only necessarily have to be single family.
Okay, I'd like to bring Kathleen Miller on in a second, but right now my good friend Eddie Marte has his hand up. So we're going to bring Eddie on. Eddie, you're on with Chernise Ramos. What's your question, or what do you guys share with? Hey, Eddie, good looking ball cap, brother. How are you?
Hey, doing great. It's been a long time, JJ.
Too
Hi,
long.
Shanice. It's been a while.
Hey, what's up, Eddie? Yeah, it's been a while. Good to
Yeah,
see you.
it's been great. It's good to see you. My question is in regarding to wholesaling. Um, Basically, I wanted to know, I know for double closes, it's pretty much you're closing on a property with the seller, and then right after you're selling that same property to a buyer right away. Uh, in regards to wholesaling, what's the difference between double closing and just wholesaling, pretty much like getting a contract and assigning it to somebody else?
The difference is the amount of your assignment fee. So if
So,
you're wholesaling it and you're assigning it just for like a 10,000.
okay, so it's not like you're buying the property, you're just making a
Well,
contract.
technically you are buying the property and you're owning it for,
A minute.
whatever, few minutes, and then
Okay.
you're reselling it.
Okay,
So
that
the other I would say, I don't want to say advantage, it's not the word I'm looking for, but it's actually good also for the wholesaler because when they double close, the fact that they own it, even if it's just for 2 minutes, that kind of builds their portfolio of owning properties.
no, that's amazing. That's better than just transitioning the documents over. Sounds like it.
No, yeah, it helps them out because you're owning it, right? You're buying A to B, so you're owning it. So you have that statement to say, well, I own this property. Doesn't matter if it was for 2 minutes.
Bernice, let me ask you, part of Eddie's question on the assignment, right? If you're signing a contract for a property and you assign it, you're in essence not really owning it. You have the seller, you're signing it to the buyer, and you're collecting a fee, but you're not really showing that you're on record. Whereas if
Right,
you do a double close, you are closing that first transaction, showing you're
right,
the owner of record, then closing a
right,
second time. So on both transactions have a title company and escrow involved, but for the double close, the investor, unlike the assignment, investor actually becomes a holder of record for some period of time till they sell it to the C buyer.
absolutely.
Was that your question, Eddie?
Yes, that was exactly spot on.
Great. Well, we got the expert here. We got Sharice with us. She's wonderful. Hey Eddie, thank you so very much, my friend. Kathleen, I saw you had a Kathleen Miller. How are you?
Hello, good. How are you?
Great. I saw you had a comment in the chat here on the Zoom that you and Trinise have a list of approved creative title companies
Yes,
that
we
work
do.
with double closes. That's the question I wanted to bring up is, we're talking about double closes or even the assignment, but on a double close, we have transfer of ownership and the investor for some amount of time owns that company, is on record of having owned the company. So are there certain title, does any title company do this? And again, girls, have you two been working together now for a while?
We have known each other quite a while. Yeah. Actually, our community has a list that we save when we have a successful closing. So whether it's EMD or double close or the seller carryback, we keep track of who is easy to work with. And I personally have a local company that's a title company in Illinois, and the attorney has an office in Iowa, and they do attorney closings, but they're very quick and easy to work with. They do everything in-house. The buyer and the seller, it's easiest if they have the whole transaction the same day in the same office, and they just take care of it. And even for one of my buyers, I went and picked up his check for him. and brought it to him the next day because he couldn't make it to the closing. So really nobody attended the closing.
That's
it
what I
was
wanted to
smooth,
ask. I
smooth.
wanted to ask that very question. If you're using a title company that the investor is saying, hey, we're going to use this title company. I have a history of them doing this type of process, very satisfactory. I'm going to use it as my title company. And you get the seller A to agree to do it and buyer C to agree to using this title company. And by in-house, the title company is going to be handling the process and
Right.
possibly for both transactions. Does seller A and buyer C actually have to come into the office? Because nowadays a lot of people do things with like DocuSign and they don't even
Right.
have to show up. So is it more
I
frequent
think
that they would DocuSign or more frequent that they would show into a new office?
some of it is signed in person. It depends on the attorney. But my buyer and my seller, the seller, it was a probate of the local one. And so the family was out of state and they took care of it very quickly just through notary on the other end. That's where the mobile notaries come into play. And also the uh, wholesaler here, he went in and signed ahead of time what he needed to take care of, and he went to Florida on a vacation. I'm in the Iowa, Illinois area.
Great. So Chernise, is there a title company, a couple of title companies you like to use, or the one in particular? And Chernise, how often does somebody else recommend a title company? And how often do you like to recommend a title company? Chernise.
Well, it's exactly like Kathy just mentioned right now. We kind of have those saved. Once, anybody gets a deal that closes, we know that we can, work with that title company and they worked with us before. So we won't have any issues with that. Um, I do get questions sometimes if I do have a title company that I can request. So I'll go to the list and I'll, let them know, okay, try this company, call this title company.
Great, great. Well, Kathleen, I wanted to bring you on and talk about title companies a little bit. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Welcome to our call
Thank you,
today,
Kathy.
and thank you for joining
Yeah.
on, jumping on with us. Cool. Well, Shanice, I think we're gonna kind of wrap up a little bit and move into the breakout rooms. I really want to thank you for being on today. Um, Great topic, great questions, great answers. Um, I just really enjoy seeing you just like ascend through the stratosphere of Sub 2 and by, marketing yourself and just being out there and building your name, building your reputation, building your brand, and you're doing an outstanding job. I commend you. Um,
Thank
I got two last questions for you, please, Stein. One, if people on the call or people watching on YouTube weeks and months down the line want to reach out to you, what is the best way for those people to connect with you?
If they haven't already, I would scan this QR code. It leads you to my phone number, my Gmail, my Facebook, my website.
So you're on Facebook. They can message you here at Graham's Grandbabies. Look how cute. Love the kids. Love the kids. On your Facebook page, you have your Instagram, you have your LinkedIn. We have your Instagram page. And it's CherniseRamos.rei. And so people can message you on Instagram as well.
Yes.
Fantastic. And your websites are Funds for You. And I am loving the threads here, girl. You look outstanding. This is a great site. And so obviously this would be another way for people to connect with you. And the website is fundsforyou.us. So Shanice, my last question. I have a networking group. I'm always talking about the importance of networking to build our business. There are many education communities, such as Gator, Astro, Thrive, Clever Investor, Seven Figure Flipper, many different groups. Each group has a Facebook page for their investor membership community. There are new people coming in every day that are very experienced and very new at real estate. Some know how to use social media, and of course, we know many don't. For the real estate investor today who's now newly moving to social media, moving to a Facebook community, learning how to leverage social media, how important is social media and using it to the success of the real estate investor's business today? And
Oh, it's real important. It's real important. That's another area of a total mind shift for me because yeah, I had social media, but it was more for fun, right? But when you get into the business and communities and real estate, it's a total game changer because you have, like you said, you have to, you're building yourself. You're letting people know what you do. You're letting people see who you are and what you're about, what communities you're a part of, what do you have in common. So it's real important, social media, to have content and people to see what you have going on.
So I know we met a handful of months ago, and you're probably already in the communities before you met me. But have you picked up anything through the group, through the networking group, that have maybe impacted the growth or the success or the speed at which your business is growing? I mean, is this part of it's your own work, but is part of it, have you been learning new techniques on how to market yourself?
Oh, absolutely. I have to give a great big shout out to the FunWise community, um, Sub 2 community. I've learned a lot, but like it was mentioned earlier, when you get into smaller community groups, it helps out a lot because you can have more of those one-on-ones and, things get broken down a lot easier for you to learn. And like I said, when it came to me joining the FunWise community, it changed me as a person. I had a lot of help from the community. And, when I came across your networking community, that also helped to building what my social media looks like, how to handle social media, what, what to do, what to look for, what not to have. So it definitely helps in all aspects. Great shout out to your community, to you and the FunWise community as well.
Thank you so much. And you've done an outstanding job in every regard. You've become a role model, an example for the newer investor today of how to build your business and how to approach social media. Hey, if you guys are on the call right now, please if you're watching on YouTube right now, please like Chernise's video. Please put in the comment section your takeaways, what you found informative, even if it's how I can improve content of what I'm doing. Again, if you want to get a hold of Chernise, you can message her on Facebook. You can connect with her on her website, fundsforyou.us, as well as on her Instagram, chernise.ramos.rei. And of course, she's on Facebook. So feel free to reach out to her on her social media platforms. And if you want to connect with me, guys, want to jump in our networking group, scan the turquoise QR code. Takes you to my website. You can register. Click the register now button. If you want to follow us on if you want to follow us on YouTube and check out our videos and see what's coming your way, just hit the purple QR code, scan that, and register for the YouTube channel. If you guys are on the call, do not go away. As soon as we end the recording, we're going to jump into breakout rooms and chat with Chernise a little bit more. Chernise, as far as everybody else is concerned, we'll see them in the world of social networking, right? Social media.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much for everybody that joined. Thank you.
Thank you, girl. Outstanding. Love you. All right, guys. See you soon.